6-year-old Bradley and 13-year-old Michael Schwartz are dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. Their 36-year-old mother, Lois Mackey, is in critical condition in St. Luke's Hospital. Officials say the furnace in their home malfunctioned and caused carbon monoxide fumes to fill the house. Duluth Water and Gas officials say the furnace was clogged and hadn't been cleaned for quite some time.
I guess due to the climate that we live in, any heating plant is probably the most important appliance in the house, if you want to call it an appliance. It's probably the least maintained.
Peterson says no matter what kind of heating system you have, water, electric, or gas, it should be cleaned at least once a year, but that can vary. If the heating system is in a high dust area, it'll need maintenance more often.
We call it cleaning, okay? We pull the burners out, we clean the burners, we clean the combustion chamber, we clean filters, we check fan belts, we oil things, whatever is required to put it back in decent shape.
Peterson says between cleanings you should change your filters when needed. A good cleaning will cost you about $30, a small price to pay for something that could one day prevent a tragedy like yesterday's. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
A pile of debris is all that remains of the Andrews family home in Oliver, Wisconsin. A fire destroyed the house in late November. The family couldn't recover anything from the wreckage, and they had no insurance.
Because it really is a situation you wouldn't want anyone, even your worst enemy, to be in.
When a new Superior construction company found out about the tragedy that struck Connie Lewis and their 2 young boys, they decided to help them out by supplying materials for them to build a new home. Well, the idea caught on, and now the Andrews family may get their entire home rebuilt through contributions and materials, and the National Guard is considering supplying the manpower to construct the building.
Well, the thing sort of mushroomed a little bit. A couple of our suppliers heard about it, and it's really starting to evolve into quite a thing at the present time. I'm very glad for it.
The Andrews family is very thankful for the generosity of local people. Without it, they say, it wouldn't be much of a holiday season.
I would have built slowly on it, buy what I can buy, and just kept going as fast as I can. Whatever my income would allow, you know, it would have been a lot longer than what it is now, because it's going up real fast.
In Oliver, Katie O'Keefe, Channel 3 News.
This is the Minnesota State Patrol ComSend van. It's a mobile unit that's used for communication among authorities during disasters or major events. It was last used a couple weeks ago at a ski competition in Ely that attracted international athletes. Events that attract foreigners usually require stiffer security. The ComSend van allows for immediate communication in the event trouble should arise.
You can communicate with anybody from the Air Force or military, forestry, DNR, maintenance people, DOT maintenance.
ComSend has been in Minnesota for about 7 years, but this is the first time it's been to Duluth. But it's here just for show. The van is basically a dispatch office on wheels, and it has more two-way capability than some stable units. The mobile radios are runoff generators, batteries, or in some cases, electricity.
We've got a console that can be used to control all these radios, and plus 3 telephones. If we get into an area where there's telephone communication is going to be, we can have telephone people hook up telephones and have communications that way too.
The ComSend van will be stored in Willow River for the winter. In spring, it'll be brought out for forest fires, the mobile unit's most common disaster usage. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
Lorenz Laney, also known as James Fellbaum. On Monday, he was accused of trying to take a set of 9-year-old twin girls from their Duluth parents to Guatemala. Tonight, he is a free man. Authorities say they didn't have enough evidence to hold him. Those who know him say he never intended to kidnap the girls.
From everything that I have seen and experienced, it seems to be the truth that the parents were willingly allowing the children to go. Whereas one of the parents was a little bit reticent, he nevertheless agreed at a certain point.
Doris Sampson and her daughter took Laney, his wife, and 2-year-old son into their home for 2 weeks. They say he made his home in Guatemala, periodically returning to the United States to sell Central American clothing and artwork. They also saw him as a man fascinated with religions, but they disagreed on how Laney used that fascination. Sherry Sampson planned to follow him to Central America.
I don't know a lot about him factually, other than what he and Greta have told me. But I trust him.
Why?
Because I do.
I think that there is an element, I don't know quite how to term this, but a little bit deeper element of deception and illegality and possible mental positions, mental thought patterns that go a little bit deeper.
Most people we talked to about Laney said he had mentioned that he has several children. Some of them had been kidnapped, some died. He has some kind of criminal record. How much of one, we don't know. The one thing we do know about Laney is that he is free tonight and can go anywhere he chooses. John Schottel, Channel 3 News.
Thanksgiving wasn't a very festive holiday for the Andrews family of Oliver, Wisconsin. Their home was destroyed November 24th by fire. Connie, Lewis, and their 2 boys were unable to recover anything from the wreckage. They had no insurance.
Because it really is a situation you wouldn't want anyone, even your worst enemy, to be in.
Around the same time tragedy struck the Andrews family, a new Superior construction company was just starting production. To show their appreciation to the city of Superior for the support they had received for their new company, they decided to help out the Andrews.
It looks like if everything goes right, we could have the whole house framed up for them.
After the word was out about Bear Paw's donation, several other area businesses chimed in with contributions and materials, and the National Guard has offered to build their new home for them.
Things sort of mushroomed a little bit. A couple of our suppliers heard about it, and it's really starting to evolve into quite a thing at the present time. I'm very glad for it.
I would have built slowly on it, buy what I can buy, and just kept going as fast as I can. Whatever my income would allow, it would have been a lot longer than what it is now, because it's going up real fast.
This snow-covered heap of debris is all that's left of the Andrews home, but behind it lies the new donated materials that will furnish a new beginning for this family. In Oliver, KDLH Channel 3 News. Madeline Island is located between Ashland and Bayfield, Wisconsin. There are 15 school-aged children living there. Some attend LaPointe Grade School located on the island. The others attend the Bayfield High School. The catch is, Madeline Island is located in the Ashland School District. Therefore, Ashland pays Bayfield to educate the children.
We presently have 9 students from LaPointe attending the Bayfield High School on a tuition basis.
Parents and residents on Madeline Island don't like the setup. They say it doesn't make sense to be in the Ashland School District when their children attend the Bayfield School. So, today they petitioned to change that.
All the high school kids are already going to school in Bayfield. Okay, they're under contract with the Ashland School District to supply educational needs for the island children. Now, it would seem by that in and of itself that it would be an admission on Ashland's part that the proper place for these kids is in Bayfield and not Ashland.
Think that it's something that has been a long time coming and that it should take place for a variety of reasons.
The Bayfield School District is all in favor of the switch, so the decision will be made by the Ashland School Board in January.
Both boards legally, officially vote separately for this process, and needless to say, at this point in time, I think our board certainly is very much in favor of it.
Whether the Ashland School Board will allow Madeline Island to detach from the Ashland School District and become part of Bayfield remains undecided. But the parents say if Ashland has the students' best interest in mind, that's exactly what they'll do. In Bayfield, KDLH Channel 3 News.
Four times each year, the Nielsen Company conducts 4-week surveys of what viewers like and don't like. And according to the latest survey, most of you preferred the programs you see here on KDLH. From sign on to sign off, Channel 3 is #1.
What I see in this book is we probably are still, and always have been as far as I'm concerned, the local station.
The locally produced news is also an important measuring stick for sales managers. At 6 o'clock, Channel 3 maintained its dominance over WDIO and KBJR. And although KDLH finished second overall to WDIO at 10 o'clock, Channel 3 did do well in the key demographics for that time slot.
If we happen to be #1 in news, as we are, and people want to buy the news, then they will pay more for our station than, say, another station. So being #1 is quite important. And I'm most appreciative to all those people out there that are watching Channel 3. As an example, in the prime time, if you've been reading your newspapers lately, there's been a lot of publicity how the NBC network has been #1. Well, in this market, the CBS network is #1. So in that regard, we're unique to the rest of the country.
But none of the Duluth stations can sit on their accomplishments for long. The next rating period is just a couple of months away. But for now, we'd like to thank you for your support and wish you happy holidays. Jeff Potts, Channel 3 News.
When you go Christmas shopping, you probably notice people are very different, and they're usually buying different gifts. But they do have one thing in common: they're probably all spending too much money on presents.
And this is where the problem often starts, with plastic. Shoppers charge hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on presents, only to find when the bill comes, they can't pay for it. That'll be charged, please.
I think what happens is the plastic that we all have in our wallets sometimes causes people to feel that they can afford items that will eventually lead to those financial difficulties.
Do you find that you spend too much money around Christmas time?
Yeah, I usually do, more than I really had planned on. I always do.
Use your credit cards a lot?
Yeah, the American Distress card.
We try to have a budget and live by it.
Living by a budget, especially around the holidays, is exactly how financial experts say you can avoid spending too much.
Plan ahead. In our business, we plan ahead for all types of goals, and I think Christmas time is no different. People need to start their planning in January for the coming Christmas in December and create that type of savings account that will allow them to make those purchases in cash.
Even though it's probably too late this year to start watching what you spend on gifts, it's not too late to start planning for next year. Maybe then the present you buy won't be such a strain on the pocketbook. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
Every year, thousands of people, young and old alike, become the victims of the Christmas blues. This happy time of year becomes a period of depression and anxiety for a number of reasons.
We have unrealistic expectations of ourselves and think we can handle it. And oftentimes right before the holidays, just from sheer fatigue, many of us experience periodic mood shifts and some depression, which can be evidenced by sleeplessness, fatigue, loss of appetite or too much appetite.
Not wanting to be around people is one of the most dangerous signs of holiday depression. It's important not to be isolated. Don't bear frustrations in private and try to keep your expectations realistic.
We tend to expect that people are going to be happy, and that may not necessarily be true. We tend to think that families are somehow magically going to get along on the holidays.
Doctors say trying to maintain a normal lifestyle during this very abnormal time of year can cause problems for most anyone, but there are some helpful hints. Get a lot of rest. Don't overschedule yourself. If you're tired, say no. Eat correctly, not too much, but don't skip meals either, and don't drink too much. Really, it's very simple. Doctors say the best cure for the holiday blues is to recognize the symptoms. Katie O'Keefe, Channel 3 News.
There's no doubt that this is the busiest time of year for the post office. About 500,000 letters a day are processed here, and that only includes first-class mail.
We've been very busy. Our volume through Duluth is up about 7%, but due to increased productivity, we've been able to do real well. The mail in all of northern Minnesota is current. We don't have any backlogs. Things look real good for us for Christmas this year.
The main branch of the post office has added new machines to make the mail process quicker and more efficient. So with the higher technology, less manpower is needed. For the most part, employees are working 8 hours a day, even though the mail volume is so high. Post office officials say the letters that come through the Duluth post office are going all over the world to many different people. But they say there is one person that gets quite a few letters this time of year.
We get letters here that are going to Santa Claus. We make sure that he gets them. And then after he answers them, we help to get them delivered to the kids.
Solem says they've received about 300 letters addressed to Santa. One came as far away as Costa Rica. Another came from a local law firm. I wonder what he wants for Christmas. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News. It was just after 11 this morning when Bernice Johnson walked out of the St. Louis County Jail. After spending 2 months locked up for charges of second-degree murder in the stabbing death of her husband last October, the 21-year-old is free.
It feels good, real good. I'm just glad to be back with my kids.
Several candlelight vigils were held recently by women's groups who say they believe Johnson was a victim of wife abuse and was merely defending herself when she killed her husband. Johnson is 5 months pregnant and has 2 kids. She says she didn't have enough money to post bail herself, and she says she's glad the church organization did.
I'm real thankful for them, and I will be writing a letter to them and letting them know how good I feel.
A St. Louis County District Court judge is expected to rule in mid-January on whether there is enough evidence to try Johnson for second-degree murder. Meanwhile, Johnson says she'll take care of her children and hope this nightmare comes to an end. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
Protecting yourself and your children. 1. Every December, this guy here in the red suit shows up to bring presents and spread holiday cheer. But what about the man behind the gray beard? What really makes Old St. Nick tick?
What do you want for Christmas?
How about a new car?
Boy.
Is that too much to ask?
Well, that's expensive, yeah. What do you want for Christmas?
Oh, gosh. Do you have all day? We didn't bring our list. We crowded in the car.
So Santa, just what do you enjoy most about your job?
The kids are great. I just love the kids and the things they ask for to keep the elves busy.
Even though Santa is much more into giving than receiving, he got a present today too.
Oh, these are hot, kids.
What's your schedule like the rest of this evening?
Oh, it's hectic. I tell you, I leave right from here, and my sleigh's on the roof. I got to make my first stop in about 10 minutes.
Now, of course, Santa's main concern is getting all those presents delivered tonight. But he also has other interests. What do you think about the Twins not signing Jack Morris?
Boy, I tell you, that's big news at the North Pole, too. That's crazy.
Carl Haug, Channel 3 News.
They should have hit him there. That would have...
This is the Copeland Community Center, the center of activity for the 350 kids who live in this Central Hillside housing project in Duluth. It's been that way since 1972, but unless something is done soon, it won't be that way in 1987. The city will still provide the $32,000 it takes to fund the programs here, and the Housing and Redevelopment Authority will still pay for all the utilities, maintenance, and other overhead. But since St. Louis County is closing its daycare center here, the county doesn't feel it should be involved in administering the center as it has in the past.
And that means that neither of them can take the program on and take me on as an employee. At this point, we're looking towards St. Louis County handling the fiscal responsibility and keeping me on as an employee. If this does not happen, then the center will close a week from today and we will not be open again.
County Social Services Director Bob Zalesnikar declined an on-camera interview, but did tell us he resents being portrayed as the Scrooge in this scenario. He says now that the daycare center is gone, the other programs offered here do not relate to social services, and his department doesn't want the financial or legal responsibility for what happens here. Parents are obviously concerned about the long-term effects if the center closes.
There's probably about 350 kids that use it. They come here, they play games, they color. It's just a place for the kids to hang out. If they didn't have it, there would probably be a lot of vandalism. Just kids running around getting into trouble.
Brown has directed the multitude of programs here since 1974 and feels the frustration of being caught in the middle.
The county feels that the city should take the responsibility, and the city feels that they're already meeting their obligation by giving us the money to run the program with, and they feel that someone else should handle the responsibility. It's sort of like pass the buck time.
Even though Brown admits some of the programs offered here might not come under the Social Services Department, the department is very involved in the lives of many of the families who live here and use the facility. And closing the center would have a negative effect on both. Jeff Potts, Channel 3 News.
Christmas Eve at the airport. Not the kind of story fairy tales are made of, but a necessary evil if you want to see your long-lost loved ones over the holiday season. Duluth International was buzzing with business today, but not everything went according to plan.
The fog has been a problem starting last night. A couple of our flights last night were not able to get in.
Travelers with boxes and suitcases made their way to the check-in counter, and with a few exceptions of careless driving, everyone and their luggage remained unscratched. After checking in, a quick look at the schedule. Well, not everyone looks at the schedule.
We just got here.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, did you know that the flight is going to be delayed?
No.
No?
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
From the ground floor, travelers ascended to the second level, where they were put in a holding pattern. And then the waiting began. There were newspapers and coffee and a couple of video games to boot. But today the airport had a touch of Christmas spirit. The jolly man in the red suit took time out of his busy schedule to stop in and say hi. And no one was happier to see him than these two tots and their teddies. But most people had travel on their minds. Melissa, where are you heading to?
Hopefully San Diego.
Why do you say hopefully?
Well, I want to get out.
If Melissa thinks she's having a rough day at the airport, well, here comes our careless driver, who's still running into things. Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.
Six weeks ago, many of us weren't even thinking about Christmas yet, but a group of women from the non-denominational group Spice of Life were conjuring up a very unique holiday greeting.
We decided we want to have a special way to greet the area Merry Christmas, and so we are going to form the letters Merry Christmas and I Love You in sign language and with our flashlights, and then it will be viewed from a helicopter and photographed.
As each person stands, their flashlights will be 2 feet apart and spelling out the words Merry Christmas.
On that very cold November night, the women congregated in a field on the outside of Superior. Each participant wore lots of warm clothes and brought 2 flashlights.
We met that night around 6:30 and we had the field all plotted out with the spots where each lady was supposed to stand. We went through checkpoints to make sure our batteries were good and our flashlights were working and to learn exactly how to stand.
This was the result of those ladies' efforts. They wanted to wish the Twin Ports a very Merry Christmas, and through the International Sign Language symbol, say I love you. The women of Spice of Life say since this year was so successful, they're already looking forward to next year's greeting to the Twin Ports.
It was such a neat experience for each lady that was out there, something that's inexplainable. It was like each one of us individually was saying Merry Christmas and we love you.
Katie O'Keefe, Channel 3 News.
The idea of a biomedical plant that could employ up to 5,000 people on the Iron Range has been a very popular one in Hibbing, and Iron Range legislators say it shouldn't be too difficult to generate support for the project on Capitol Hill.
Because it diversifies. We were so used to a one-industry economy up here. It's very diverse, and it does have the social redeeming qualities. It'll employ a large number of people. I mean, it's just our ticket.
Endotronics needs to borrow $87 million from private sources, but the budding firm doesn't have enough assets to back a loan of that size. That's where the state legislature comes into play.
Like any loan, there's always collateral. The collateral in this instance would be monies, that $24 million, that would be called a loan guarantee to pay it back if Endotronics failed for some reason to pay back the money.
The money to back the loan would come from a special fund for economic development on the Iron Range. That means lawmakers from other parts of the state wouldn't have to give up programs near and dear to their hearts. If the loan guarantee goes through, it would only apply to a plant built on the range. And even though Endotronics hasn't committed itself to the Hibbing site, lawmakers on the range say the collateral could be the edge they need to close the deal. In Hibbing, I'm John Schottel for Channel 3 News.
Today at the Union Hall in Silver Bay, members of the Local 5296 and their families were folding and stamping newsletters. But talk in the Union Hall centered around life insurance, or lack thereof. As of January 1st, Metropolitan Life will cut all insurance benefits to local union members because their employer, Reserve Mining, hasn't paid the premiums.
When I retired, I had $77,000 worth of life insurance guaranteed until I was age 70, at which time it would have been reduced by 1/2.
And now?
Now I have $2,000 option to purchase of a whole life policy, and that's it. No more.
Reserve Mining hasn't paid the $25,000 per month life insurance premium since last April. But Metropolitan Life has continued its coverage for union members for the last 9 months. On November 26th, the life insurance company notified Reserve it was dropping the policy effective January 1st, 1987. Local union members found out almost 3 weeks later. This letter, dated December 16, 1986, informed union members the policy would not be picked up. By law, a company dropping coverage for its employees must give at least a 31-day notice of their intentions. In this case, officials of Reserve Mining didn't follow the law.
Gave us only 16 days notice when the situation actually called for a 31-day notice.
Since filing bankruptcy, financial matters for Reserve Mining are handled by a trustee from New York. He was unavailable for comment today. Meanwhile, local metropolitan officials have set up shop at the Silver Bay Campton Center to answer union members' questions about private policies. And while Metropolitan Life is offering policies to all union members at what they insist are competitive prices, they may not have many takers in Silver Bay. Would you join this new policy?
No, I wouldn't. Not unless I was sick in bed and going to die.
Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.
Do you know this man? He's probably touched your life, or at least affected the way you look at the Northland if you're one of the 1,000 residents who start your day by reading the News Tribune and Herald. Jim Gels came to Duluth 8 months ago from Akron, Ohio, ironically changing jobs with the newspaper's former publisher, John McMillian. With 17 years of newspaper experience under his belt, Gels was already well-versed in the ins and outs of running a newspaper, but he says this opportunity in Duluth is a special one.
I've worked around the newsroom, but I grew up through the business side of the operation, and in our business we keep some sort of a dichotomy between those two functions. And so while I've worked around the editorial process and am intrigued by it and have been for many, many years while being in the business, this is my first chance to actually manage that part of the operation. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity. Look forward to it.
Although placed in the unenviable position of having to be an expert on the area almost upon his arrival, Gels says his first few months here have been a learning experience, and he's been impressed with what he sees.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed by the sheer beauty of the location, the situation on the lake. I knew that it was on a lake, but I didn't know how dominant that feature could be in the landscape. The downtown area was a big plus. Where we had lived for the last 6 years in Akron, it was decimated downtown, except for a lot of office buildings. Retailing was non-existent just about. They had one major store, and it was a pleasant surprise to come down, drive down Superior and First Street and in Michigan and see that kind of activity, that kind of vitality. That was a positive.
From an economic standpoint, Gels feels Duluth is headed in the right direction, but there are still some important questions to be answered.
You look at the paper mill and you look at the mall expansion, just those two projects. You have to be optimistic. I think the question of, while those two are important projects, we have to keep in mind that the paper mill, while a large investment and significant number of jobs, is not in itself going to cure the economic ills of thousands of jobs. The thousands of jobs being lost have caused this area to suffer, and I think the question is not so much which direction we're headed. I think that's up. I think the question is how long is it going to take for us to get there.
Although the learning process is by no means over, Gels told us he's eager to become more involved in the community and have a positive impact on our future. Jeff Potts, Channel 3 News.
Before 1987 rolls in, car dealers are hoping customers will be rolling out of their lots with new cars. This is the last year's sales tax on automobiles can be declared as a tax deduction, and prospective buyers are aware the end is near.
In the 86 year here, we can write off the sales tax, but in 87, that's not going to be the case.
Interest rates on car loans are also on the tax deduction chopping block. That deduction will slowly be phased out over the next few years. Car dealers expect fewer tax deductions will convert many car buyers into car leasers. But for now, they say, it's smart to be a car buyer.
If you're planning on buying a car and you're going to buy it in the next couple months, why not buy it in December instead of January or February? $200 in your pocket is $200.
But some customers believe the car dealers are using the tax deduction issue as another sales ploy.
I think it's probably an incentive for people to get out, but I think it's also a great selling point for the car dealers.
Car shoppers have just 4 days to take advantage of the tax break. After that, car sales tax will be another tax deduction left in the dust. Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.
Area snow lovers say they've been doing a lot of praying lately for some winter weather. Snow accumulations for this time of year are well below the average, and that's put a damper on many winter activities.
Well, cross country we're dependent upon Mother Nature, and she hasn't been real helpful as far as natural snowfall goes.
The shortage of snow has some retailers of winter sports equipment predicting a drop in business if the lack of snow keeps up. But until now, they say business has been pretty good.
No, I haven't heard any complaints yet from anybody. The mountain seems to be making enough snow to satisfy their needs. There hasn't been any natural snow, which is unfortunate. But we haven't seen any decrease in business that we can attribute to the lack of snow as yet.
The ones who want to find snow are finding it, but just pleasure skiing like at Lester or Chester Bowl or Spear Mountain, that's pretty much out so far because not enough snow to track the trails.
Because of an unusually early snowfall, Spirit Mountain opened up this year with one of the earliest ski seasons on record. Since then, though, there's been little to write home about in the snow accumulation department. But officials here say that hasn't hurt the downhill business one bit.
We've had a lack of snow, but we haven't had a lack of customers. We're able to make a lot of snow over a 2-week period. We haven't been able to for a while. The snow's still good, people are still here. We had a record day yesterday, too.
Area downhill skiers have man-made snow, so they don't mind the lack of snow too much. But as far as the snowmobilers, cross-country skiers, and just plain snow lovers go, the North Pole is looking better and better. Katie O'Keefe, Channel 3 News.
At about 9:20 a.m. this morning, some Duluth firefighters made their way to the St. Louis River. When they got there, this is what they found. About 3 hours later, Joe Quick, the owner of the truck, showed up. Around 4 a.m. this morning, he and a friend went for a joyride on the ice-covered river when his truck broke through. Neither men were injured, but they were in for a long day's work. At about 1:30 this afternoon, after 2 towing companies turned down Mr. Quick, Scotty's and Nephew's towing companies agreed to pull out the submerged pickup, but they stayed on land. Over 150 feet of cable and chains were strung from the tow trucks to the pickup truck. Then, dressed in a wetsuit, Quick attached the cable to the axle. After that, it was up to the tow trucks to do the work. This is not the first time a truck has fallen through the thin ice, but today's accident is more common this year than in most.
Well, it's a lot warmer, I got to admit that, than usual, because usually it's 20, 30 below this time of year,
On Christmas Day, 2 boys drowned when their car broke through the ice of Circle Lake near Millsburg, Minnesota. On Friday, a 37-year-old man lost his life after his truck fell through a lake near Hutchinson, Minnesota. Come on! Warm weather and very little snow is making for thin ice all across the Midwest region. Joe Quick, his friends, and 2 towing companies spent the whole day working to get this truck out of the St. Louis River. Quick and his passenger escaped injury, but his truck is beyond repair, and he owes the towing companies $500. Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.
The session that we recessed
Due to an 11th hour contract settlement, the Duluth Public Marine Terminal still has a manager tonight. North Central Terminal Operators, which manages the port terminal, had a contract with the Seaway Port Authority of Duluth, which expires today. And because of a disagreement between the parties over depreciation costs, it appeared the Port Authority might be left without a manager. But thanks to compromises on both sides, a new contract was signed. What makes this agreement significant is that it establishes a whole new working relationship between the Port Authority and North Central.
For the first time in 18 years, this is strictly a business-like contract. I think it creates incentive that has not been there in the past. I think that this is going to mean a great deal to the port terminal, at least for this year. This is a one-year trial program. I think it's going to work.
With the old contract, North Central was paid a guaranteed $20,000 a year, plus 20% of the profits over $100,000. The problem with that was the Port Authority had been losing money for 2 years. Now, North Central will be tied in with the profits as well as the losses.
We and North Central make it, or we don't make it on business-like conditions.
Carl Haug, Channel 3 News.
It wouldn't take $1 million study or a panel of experts for most people to know that the cost of banking has gone up considerably over the past few years, and that's one of the reasons Minnesota Commissioner of Commerce Mike Hatch was in Duluth today. Hatch says a growing number of low-income and elderly people can neither afford the service charges or the minimum balance to keep bank accounts, and he plans on going to the legislature to change that.
If the entry into a financial institution, if the chips keep rising, if people have to put in a $500 minimum balance, it's going to be very difficult for people to keep access to an account.
Hatch is pushing for the passage of a bill that would require all banks to provide free checking with no minimum balance to low-income people. The commissioner also says banks should be more accountable for their advertisements. In a separate bill, Hatch is asking banks to list penalties and service charges with the same vigor they advertise interest rates.
If you're going to advertise the interest rate, you must advertise the net effective yield, which would mean that you have to deduct from that interest rate any service charges, administrative fees, or other costs associated during that year.
Although some bankers support Hatch's plans, others say there is no such thing as a free lunch. No service charges for one customer may mean increased fees for another. John Schottel, Channel 3 News.
Cannot maintain a minimum balance sufficient to get a free checking account, cannot afford the service charges associated with a checking account, and consequently have no deposit.
Dioxins were discovered in sediment samples taken from Caribou Lake at the end of November. 2 samples were taken. The first showed about 1 part per trillion, the second between 4 and 5 parts per trillion of dioxin. Those are very small levels, but the dioxin they discovered, 2378 tetrachlorodibenzodioxin, is a cancer-causing agent. In fact, 2378 TCDD is the most toxic of the 75 known dioxins. It is not yet known where the dioxins have come from. The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has contacted WLSSD concerning the possibility of contaminated sludge near the lake. And they've also been looking into the possibility of contaminated atmospheric emission from the Potlatch paper mill in Cloquet.
Potlatch mill does have 2378 TCDD in its emissions. And the Potlatch mill odors, we can trace them out to at least 20 miles or more distance in all directions from the plant, depending on the direction the wind is moving.
If the dioxin did come from atmospheric emission, other lakes in the area could be contaminated.
Any lake within 25 miles radius of the mill would be a candidate for atmospheric deposition of that material.
The MPCA has taken 2 fish samples and a number of new sediment samples from Caribou Lake to help them determine the extent of dioxin contamination.
MPCA officials say they've raised more questions than they have answers to at this point, but more answers should be available when analysis of the fish and sediment samples comes in 4 to 6 weeks from now. At Caribou Lake, Lisa Molosky, Channel 3 News.
After a defective furnace leaked carbon monoxide and killed 2 young boys recently, Duluth residents have been rushing to have their units inspected. But some people who have their furnaces checked decide not to have them fixed right away.
Most people will cooperate and realize the danger. But we do have, on some instances, where they'll just want to ignore it. You tell them about it, you give them an estimate what it is to repair it, and we never hear nothing about it.
The current city code calls for new units to be inspected when they're installed, but it doesn't require furnaces to be checked periodically or repaired.
There should be some type of laws written up, some type of city ordinances that if, for an example, if any contractor does find a potential hazard as far as a crack, that that unit should be shut down and some other heat should be, they should find some other heat until the situation is taken care of, and the unit should not be, allowed to be used.
The problem city officials are grappling with now is whether the city of Duluth should have control over residents' private property. The city council and members of the water and gas department plan to hold a committee meeting within the next month or so to discuss the matter. Carla Powers, Channel 3 News.
Any licensee can buy
They can expand in that way on the license that they hold.
on the license they hold, correct.
Okay. Can you...
An accident a couple of weeks ago in which a carbon monoxide leak claimed the lives of 2 young Duluth boys brought to light once again the importance of having gas and oil furnaces inspected. But even though many Duluthians are now having their furnaces checked, they don't always choose to have them fixed.
We had a customer here just this past couple weeks, and I've been talking to the guys here at work about it. Well, what should we do? This guy's not replacing this thing. And he even agreed to himself he could smell the fumes in the building. We never heard a word from him.
City Councilor M. George Downs has received many calls lately from furnace repairmen who say they see many furnaces with cracked heat exchangers. The heat exchanger is an enclosed area inside a furnace where combustion is turned into warm air. When cracks develop, carbon monoxide can mix with the air that flows into a house. Obviously, such a problem is dangerous, and those in the heating business would like to make sure cracks in heat exchangers get fixed.
The city has regulations in homes, let's say for rental property, that there has to be deadbolts, there has to be railings going down the stairs, but there's really nothing to really protect or, regulations as far as for the heating equipment.
At last night's council meeting, Downs said he would like to see an ordinance drafted that would require Duluthians to repair faulty furnaces. The proposed ordinance will be discussed at a committee meeting within the next month or so. Carla Powers, Channel 3 News.
According to recent economic projections for 1987, more houses will be sold next year than were sold this year. The reason for the upswing in sales is a drop in interest rates, a decline that started in 1986.
86 was generally a very good year. It was a good year, I know, for us and on our particular office, but I think it was a good year for all the realtors in Duluth and probably over much of the nation.
So realtors are relatively pleased with property sales in 1986, but 1987 may make them even happier, especially since interest rates are expected to continue their downward slide. And here in Duluth, there's another reason for optimism. The Lake Superior paper mill is expected to start production in December of '87. Local realtors say the few outsiders brought into Duluth will boost the local housing market. But the Duluth market suffers when it comes to investment. Oberg believes a high homestead tax is scaring off potential investors.
When you buy income-producing property, you buy it through the pocketbook, and if the bottom line doesn't add up, chances are you aren't going to buy it.
But overall, realtors are looking forward to low interest rates and a bull market in 1987. Is 87 going to be a better year?
I think it will be. Even a better year, yes. More of everything.
Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.
First question is, how were sales?
Well, sales were excellent. We just beat a very good 1985 with 1986 sales, and 85 was good, but 86 was even better.
Mall officials and downtown store owners are crediting the city's economic recovery for this holiday sales boom. They say more people are working in Duluth, and consequently, Duluthians have more money to spend this year. While officials here at the mall are reporting sales increases of 5 to 10%, downtown merchants are also holding their own.
The merchants were really optimistic, and I think that it just bore out their optimism. I don't think there was a real jump in sales, but it was slightly better than last year, and it was steady and good.
Mall officials are understandably enthusiastic about the Miller Hill Mall expansion now underway, which will add 40 stores to the mall. But Whitney says she doesn't think that expansion will hurt business downtown, because she says the mall serves a different type of customer than the downtown area does.
There are sales that are directed in really a different direction than ours. Downtown focuses mainly on specialty and on service and on the downtown working market. And we hope to expand on that, but we feel that there's room for both.
So after enjoying a good 1986 holiday season, Duluth merchants are counting on the re-grand opening of the mall in October and on continuing economic growth in the city to make Christmas 1987 even better. Carla Powers, Channel 3 News.
The year's gains more than outweighed the setbacks. In Duluth, a construction boom helped to bring the unemployment rates in many of the trades to their lowest levels in recent years. Projects like the freeway extension, school remodelings, and the Miller Hill Mall expansion helped to generate scores of jobs. So many, in fact, that boomers, construction workers from other states, came to Duluth looking for work. In past years, Duluth boomers had to leave the state. One of the largest projects, of course, was the Lake Superior paper mill. Neither rain-soaked dirt or the cloud of a lawsuit by Gino Palucci could dampen spirits as ground for the paper mill was broken. Palucci sued to change either the design or the location of the $380 million facility to keep his nearly vacant Chungking plant from being demolished. The Minnesota Supreme Court halted the suit and work on the mill proceeded, creating 1,700 construction jobs. Its opening will be a story for next year when 300 permanent jobs are expected to take root. Shipping through the Twin Ports also saw a good year. Gains were seen in grain exports, coal, and general cargo. International tonnage was also good. One of the biggest additions to the port was this heavy lift, constructed to unload the largest cargo ever shipped through the Great Lakes. The multi-ton pressure reactors were sent on their way to Regina, Saskatchewan. Port officials say the heavy-duty cargo is proof the Twin Ports is versatile, and that versatility will shine the spotlight on the ports. On the downside, taconite shipments out of the port were off. That reflects the past year of events on the Iron Range. The year brought a new name and fame of sorts to the range. U.S. Steel became USX, and the longest lockout in the history of that region. The newly renamed company saw trouble on the range when its labor agreement with the U.S. Steelworkers expired on July 31st. Workers said they would work under the old contract until a new one could be negotiated. But USX shut down its plants nationwide, and later on, negotiations with the union. Locked gates at Mountain Iron's Mintat plant meant that 1,300 Iron Range workers in the dispute could receive unemployment, but those benefits are due to expire January 19th. Plans are underway for a New Year's collection to help those workers through if no settlement can be reached. 1986 did bring employment to the range. The form of that employment is creative. The Hibbing Chopsticks factory opened, turning Northland woods into chopsticks for the Chinese. In Babbitt, creative thinking is turning old tires into brand new products. The Tire Cycle project is breathing new life into a community that had been hit hard by the flagging iron ore industry. It also brought the long-awaited opening of Iron World USA. The multi-million-dollar facelift to the old Iron Range Interpretative Center brought in the crowds and big-name entertainment. Giants Ridge also saw growth with the announcement that the ski hill had been chosen as a site to train the Olympic women's cross-country ski team. Anticipation of the location of a biomedical plant in the Arrowhead region also brought high hopes to Hibbing and Duluth. The cities are considered major contenders for an endotronics plant, which could one day employ thousands. Endotronics is in the cancer-fighting business. If you travel by air, the year brought more choices with the opening of an American Airlines run to Duluth. It also saw the merger of Northwest Airlines with Republic, creating one of the largest airlines in the country. And if you traveled by auto or foot in Duluth, you have probably traveled the bricks. Millions of bricks have been placed along the avenues and streets of downtown Duluth, and work continues to brick the Civic Center's Priley Drive. These are just some of the events that truly changed the face of our region in 1986, a year to remember. Beating a melting ice cap, a group of hardy souls reached the top of the world by dog sled. The Will Steger Polar Expedition will easily find a place in our history books. What's truly remarkable about the feat that was organized in Ely is the extreme conditions the group encountered on their trek, from frostbite to dangerous ice flow. Another event worthy of note is the welcoming celebration of the Victory Chimes to the Twin Ports. The turn-of-the-century schooner attracted thousands of visitors to the Duluth Canal as it entered the port. The Chimes joined another old soldier, the William A. Irvin, as a tourist attraction. The Irvin, a retired ore carrier, makes its permanent home near the Arena Auditorium in Duluth. Ferry rides were a new method of transportation in 1986 for Park Point residents. The midnight rides to and from the mainland were necessary when the lift bridge was locked in an upright position to allow for repairs to the canal below the bridge. In sports, UMD Bulldog hockey player Matt Christensen suffered a stroke which ended his collegiate career. But with hard work and determination, his recovery is progressing. He hopes to return to competitive playing in 1987. One of the biggest comebacks of the year came in July during the all-class reunion in Duluth. People from across the nation returned to the city to renew old ties. The event lost $250,000. A new game came to town in 1986 with the opening of the Fond du Lac Bingo Hall. The high-stakes bingo venture between the Fond du Lac Indians and the city of Duluth opened its doors in September with the promise of jobs and excitement. But the jury is still out, I'm afraid. The facility still hasn't attracted the crowds the Indians and the city had hoped for. Heading the list of winners in 1986 was Governor Rudy Perpich. He won his race for another term. His counterpart in Wisconsin, Governor Tony Earl, wasn't as lucky. He lost to Tommy Thompson. Other losers included owners of Tri-State Homes. It was the year that many discovered their homes were rotting away as a result of poor construction. The big post-race celebration for Grandma's Marathon in Duluth lost out to high winds and tornado activity. Fire also took its toll. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth of property were destroyed. One of the more spectacular blazes occurred at the M grain elevator in Superior. Fire also claimed many homes in the Northland, including this family home in Oliver. The young family who owned the home lost everything, but the community is responding and construction is underway on a new home. Our local community also responded to others in need. Donations were gathered to help stock food shelves and to feed the hungry over the holidays. And the Duluth United Way Drive brought in a record number of donations. The Northland also lost several leaders over the year. St. Louis County Sheriff Ernie Grams died in a traffic accident. District Judge John Durfee lost his fight with cancer. And most recently, retired Judge Donald Odden passed away in his sleep. 1986, a year to remember. Michelle Lee, Channel 3 News.
'86 was a banner year for military recruiters in the Duluth area. Last year, all 4 branches of the armed forces met their recruitment goals, and the Army office did particularly well, with an increase of more than 50% over the number of recruits in 1985. Much of that was due to the Army's policy of giving college credits for work completed and contributing substantial sums of money for college tuition.
Why should they pay money for college? We can give it to them. When you look at the VOTEC aspect, we give the same training that the VOTEC gives, but at the same time, we're going to pay you while you train instead of you paying us, which is, to me, a lot smarter.
Some high school seniors are choosing a career in the Army because they think it's practical.
I've wanted to be in the Army since I was in 9th grade because my older brother, he went in there and he got himself a really good job, and that's what I want.
And the money for college makes it even more appealing.
Definitely a good way to go. I don't think there's any other better way. The Army's going to pay for education. Why not take it?
The Army realizes that many young people today are not as apt to be lured into the military by the offer of travel and adventure alone. More high school seniors are now looking past that and onto college. And the concept of getting their tuition paid for seems to be getting the attention of a lot of 18-year-olds.
At the same time, that's why the incentives are so high. At the same time, we're saying, yes, thank you for coming in. Thank you for doing a good job. But now here is something back.
Carl Haug, Channel 3 News.
It's called the Job Service Resume System. People looking for technical, managerial, and sales positions can have their resume fed into a main computer in Madison, making them more visible to potential employers.
I think over the years we've probably had more of a reputation of dealing with the
with the on-scale, the labor, the factory type, and the clerical. And we are now trying to emphasize the fact that we also provide a professional service to professional people, and I think this is a result of it. This really is a pilot project in a nation.
6 states are participating in the program. The job service departments in these states will feed resumes into the computer, and employers within the states will be matched with the unemployed person that best fits his needs.
I think what we're doing for the unemployed person is we're exposing them a lot more than we would under our normal system. For example, if we have taking an engineer, personnel person, whatever, the exposure they're going to get is just going to enable us to expose them to so many more job opportunities over a 6-state area. I liken it to fishing. If you have 10 lines out, you're going to catch more fish than if you have 1 line out.
About 1,000 letters have been sent out in the Duluth area to people registered at their local job service. So far, only about 25 people have shown an interest in the program.
Nelson says the low response could be due to the fact that most of the jobs will require people to relocate. But he says it may just take some time before people are comfortable with the idea of moving for a job. And maybe when this new innovation does get off the ground, Minnesota's current unemployment rate of 5% will go even lower. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
House fires. They claim the lives of more children than school fires. Fire officials credit such prevention methods as fire drills and mechanical detection devices for the school's impressive safety record. This year, the Duluth school system is becoming a frontrunner in fire prevention.
We learned by bad experience why to put indoors and why to make safety improvements. So we're one step ahead of the game, I think, in Duluth. In fact, we're way ahead of the game.
Each school will install new sprinklers, a new lighting system, and an alarm system that will pinpoint the location of the fire. All of the additions will make schools safer for these children, but safety carries a price tag.
The cost of the fire safety improvements in the entire district is like $2.5 million. Well, that's a lot of money.
2/3 of the Duluth schools are equipped with new alarm and sprinkler systems. MacArthur West is one of them. The rest of the schools will be brought into compliance by next year. Sam Shane, Channel 3 News.